Ryan sat on the wooden porch steps, his thumb hovering over the screen. He took a deep breath and tapped send on the longest message he'd ever written. He watched the seen icon appear, only to be met by a cold notification. User not found. With a sharp exhale, he flung the phone onto the grass and buried his face in his knees. The suburban sunset was beautiful, but the sudden silence felt like a loud, painful, and haunting scream. Ryan's grandfather stepped out onto the porch. He didn't ask about the phone lying in the grass or the tears in Ryan's eyes. He simply stood there for a moment, holding a small garden trowel, his eyes fixed on a large ceramic pot in the corner of the garden. "Ryan," he said softly, "I need your help. Help me carry this pot to the garage before it explodes." Ryan wiped his face and looked up, squinting through the sunlight. He walked over to the old blue ceramic pot. It was covered in deep, jagged cracks that looked like lightning bolts frozen in clay. "Grandpa, it's just a pot," Ryan muttered, his voice still thick with emotion. "And it's already broken. Why don't we just get some strong glue and fix the cracks? It seems like a waste to just give up on it." The old man knelt down, gently brushing some dry soil off the rim. He looked at the vibrant green leaves of the tree inside, then back at his grandson with a peaceful smile. "We can't fix it, Ryan," he replied. "You see, this tree isn't just sitting there. It's fighting. It is trying to kill this pot just so it can stay alive." Ryan became very quiet. He looked at the thick, stubborn roots pushing hard against the clay, forcing the cracks wider with every passing hour. He didn't understand. Why would something so beautiful want to destroy the only home it had ever known? "It's not being cruel," the grandfather continued. "It just reached a point where staying inside this pot means it has to stop growing. And for a tree, to stop growing is to die." The grandfather pointed his weathered finger at the bottom of the ceramic container, where thick, pale roots were desperately pushing through the drainage hole, curling and gasping for air. "Look closely, Ryan," he said. "When this tree was just a sapling, this pot was its whole world. It held the soil together, kept the moisture in, and protected the young roots from the harsh, cold winds. Back then, this pot wasn't a prison. It was safety. It was home." Ryan knelt beside him, tracing the longest crack with his thumb. The jagged line felt sharp and final. "But things changed," the grandfather continued, his voice steady and calm. "The tree did exactly what it was born to do. It grew. And as it grew, its needs changed. What was once a shield slowly became a cage. What was once a comfort became a constraint." He looked at Ryan, making sure the boy was really listening. Many people look at a cracked pot and see a tragedy. They think the pot was too weak, or they think the tree was too aggressive for breaking its container. But they are wrong. These cracks aren't a sign of failure, Ryan. They are a sign of life. They are proof that the tree is healthy and strong enough to demand more space. The old man's expression softened, his eyes reflecting the warm glow of the afternoon sun. If the tree tried to be polite, if it chose to stay small just to keep the pot from breaking, do you know what would happen? Its roots would eventually wrap around themselves in circles. They would begin to choke. The tree would stop drinking, stop breathing, and slowly it would wither away and die inside that perfect, unbroken pot. He placed a gentle hand on Ryan's shoulder. "Friends are very much the same, my boy. In life, we all start out in small pots. we find people who fit us perfectly at that specific moment. You share the same school, the same games, the same simple view of the world. And that is a beautiful thing for a season. But as you grow, as you learn new values, dream bigger dreams, and discover the person you are truly meant to be, your roots start to expand. You need more depth. You need more soil. He paused, letting the silence of the garden settle between them. Sometimes, a friendship ends not because someone was bad, but because you outgrew the space you shared. You cannot force yourself to stay small just to keep an old relationship from cracking. If you do, you won't be saving the friendship. You'll only be suffocating yourself. "Ryan, grab those gloves," his grandfather said, nodding toward the shed. Together, they reached down and firmly grasped the base of the tree. With one steady pull, the blue ceramic pot gave way, finally crumbling into a pile of harmless shards on the grass. The tree was free. They carried the heavy root ball to a wide, open patch of dark, rich soil at the center of the garden. As they lowered it into its new home, the grandfather began to fill the gaps with fresh earth. Ryan helped, his hands feeling the cool, damp texture of the dirt. "You see, Ryan," the old man whispered, "the pot wasn't a bad place. It just wasn't big enough for who you are becoming. Your friends from the past, they aren't wrong for staying where they are, and you aren't mean for needing more space." He patted the soil down firmly around the trunk. "Sometimes we feel guilty. We feel like we are betraying the people we once loved. But you aren't leaving them. You are simply moving into the garden where you can actually breathe." The grandfather stood up and looked Ryan straight in the eyes. His voice was soft, but held the weight of a long, lived life. "Never apologize for growing faster than the people around you. Never shrink your soul just to fit back into an old container. A tree that refuses to grow just to save its pot eventually kills the matu. But a tree that embraces the open ground, that tree becomes a forest." Ryan looked down at his dirt-covered hands. For the first time all day, the heavy tightness in his chest began to loosen. He looked at the tree, now standing tall in the open air, and he finally understood. It was okay to let go. It was okay to grow. From today's story, we learn that growth isn't just about what we gain. It's about what we are brave enough to leave behind. Loneliness is sometimes just the price of growth. It is the quiet space between the old pot and the new earth. If you have lost someone because you chose to evolve, do not be sad. Thank the old pot for its protection. Then turn your face to the sun and embrace the vast garden ahead. Stay calm and remember, you were born to bloom. Stay peaceful, and I will see you in the next lesson.